Hi, everyone, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And today we're talking about Wild Sign, the sixth book in the Alpha and Omega series by Patricia Briggs. The spin-off series to the Mercy Thompson series, which currently has 12 books. So we have now read 18 of these books. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Eve the Awakening by Jenna Maressi that made us do book club for the first time.
I think it was, yeah.
But I think the Mercy books were like
we started doing those right. Those in Covenant, I think.
Yeah, those were one of the very first things we ever did. So we've been talking about this series for a very long time. And we reference the series all the time. So we talk about this series when we're not supposed to. This and House of Night is one of the series that we talk about nonstop.
Well, if you need an example of good writing, you go Mercyverse. If you need an example of bad writing, you go House of Night. I can't.
It's a good system, and that's the system we use. So, suffice it to say, we're very big fans of this series. But the last two Mercy books, we were kind of...
the last Mercy book was good, I'm pretty sure. It was just it's mainly because that was the Rumpelstiltskin one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. It was Storm Cursed, where especially that it was like, what the actual fuck am I reading? I mean, it was a good book. It was a good book, but it wasn't a good Mercy book.
Yeah. So real quick for reference, I think I recently reread the entire series, and I finished Burn Bright maybe 2 weeks ago. So I reread the whole thing. I even reread Burn Bright, which is probably my least favorite Mercyverse book. It is. So so all of it is fresh in my brain. And I would say that out of all the Mercy books, Storm Cursed and Smoke Bitten are my least. Well, Smoke Bitten is an oddball for me, because by the time you get to Smoke Bitten, and this isn't a bad thing, because it's something that you should do. But so much has changed.
Yeah.
As far as like the atmosphere that it almost doesn't feel like cozy and comfy anymore. You know, like when you start reading like Moon Called, she's in her garage. She's just talking to Z. Like she lives in her trailer, and there's just something so like, because it was the first book.
It's a little bit like season 1 of The 100 or the game, or I was about to say the game. No, like of The 100 or Game of Thrones or something. Like, especially like the pilot episode, they're all just like, everyone's like in Game of Thrones. They're also happy the kings are coming, you know? And Bran's doing his climbing stuff, and in The 100, it's like, we're on Earth, huzzah! And then every season has a mass murder of some sort, and it just gets darker and darker. There's suicide, there's all the stuff. And then I'm not even going to talk about the last season of The 100 is Stargate, and that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think
I love Stargate, but it's not.
I think anyway, sorry. Point being, there's just something so comfy cozy about those first installments, and that's not a bad thing. That's nothing bad about changing it. The world should evolve. It absolutely should. And part of it is also the psychology of repetition, right? So you've had the first thing for the longest. So there's that familiarity bias, right? And that's definitely a thing, because, the more that you've read a book or watched a movie or something, like, you have kind of rose-colored glasses about it. So that's not a bad thing. Patricia Briggs has done a great job of evolving Mercy's world and everything. But so I just want to talk about this real quick. Something I noticed rereading Smoke Bitten was some of the character development of Smoke Bitten that's happening. It felt like, because it's the 12th book, and we're still trying to keep developing characters, but it almost feels like nobody has anywhere to go, right? So we have like these weird moments with Arielle and Daryl, and it's kind of like, but they're done.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I think, one of those things when you get to book 12 and it's like, well, we kind of finished Mercy, sort of. Mercy got over her thing. Adam's kind of getting over his thing. So now what do you do? Maybe we should give Arielle and Daryl some issues. And it feels a little more contrived by the time we get to Smoke Bitten.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the nature of the beast. And I will say Wild Sign starts to have this problem of, in my opinion, of we're sort of rehashing like the older issues. So because, okay, also real quick, this book came out on March 16th of this year. We're going to, spoilers, just for the entire thing. Okay.
And not just a spoiler warning, but also I guess we should be responsible and do a trigger warning. There's going to be lots of rape and doodle talk.
Okay. Yes. Trigger warning for rape. And then also later on for child trafficking. And
I forgot about that.
So
it sounds awful, but I forgot about that.
Yeah. So trigger warning, and the trigger warnings are honestly kind of spoilery, but I'm sorry about that.
Well, we gave spoiler warnings first, though.
But from here on out, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So because Anna loses her memory, we sort of rehash the whole rape thing and all of that, and sort of rehashing trauma, and sort of rehashing again the dynamic between Anna, Charles, and then Anna and everybody else.
And then introducing a new violation via the. I mean, Anna doesn't get it. Like, Anna doesn't get raped again, but she's about to. And her mind's being messed with. Like, in a lot of ways, the mind manipulation. I don't think she actually comes at it from this angle in the book. But in general, the mind, if there's more books, I don't know if there will be, but the mind manipulation could end up being another thing, because a lot of people find that a lot more, or the concept of it a lot more invasive than.
Well, in the Mercy books,
right.
One of the reasons why Mercy found her assault so traumatic
was because of the mind fuck.
Was because she couldn't fight back because of the mind manipulation.
Yeah.
So we kind of use that mechanic again. And I read some reviews, and a lot of people were like, "Can Patricia Briggs cool it with the rape?" Like, and she does. Enough. Yeah, and she does. Now, granted, this is over 18 books, 18 books. But because the consequences of all the raping are stretchy, that's kind of just where we're at. But so as far as, before we get into ratings, because I know where it is. I know where it goes in our list real quick. Our list is in order from what we like best to what we like the least. Is Dead Heat, Fair Game, Hunting Ground, Cry Wolf, and Burn Bright. That's our list.
So it's 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, yeah?
Yes.
Like the book numbers, yeah.
Yeah, the series numbers. And so starting with Burn Bright, because the chronological order of events is Burn Bright, Storm Cursed, Smoke Bitten, Wild Sign.
Yeah.
That's the order
of
events.
But it's not, I guess it's like in the intro thing, like the scene with Sage and everything like that. That's going to be before Silence Fallen. we get like because Charles was hunting with Bran, and Charles hadn't been. Sorry, yeah. So we had this one scene before it all, though. That was all I was adding in. Sorry.
And so starting with Burn Bright, we kind of kick off the Hardesty Witches saga. And what we've kind of find out with this Hardesty Witches saga is that the Hardesty Witches have been here the whole time. And they've always been behind the scenes doing
they're way back in Bone Crust, and
they've
not Bone Crust.
Moon Called.
No,
well, also Bone Cross, Moon Called, and Cross Burned.
Yeah.
But they've always been and like, okay, but here's the thing. How do I
fucking kill him? Sorry.
They're not that threatening in a way, because we've never had a problem like bapping them on the nose when they do a bad.
Yeah, and it seems as though every time there's been an interaction with someone directly associated with them. So like Mooncalled, I wouldn't put this in that category because he was indirect. But like whenever we've had direct contact with them or one of their close associates that aren't officially witch, like Frost, for example, they get weakened.
Yeah,
because they like someone, at least one of them dies every time they try and be overt.
Yes. So, and the other thing is that Mercy villains have always been single book villains, which is fine. That's fine. But the problem with taking single book villains and putting them in a copier and then being like, here's the bigger villain, is that, well, they all do the same thing in that they are bad. And that's kind of it. Like, they're witches and they're bad, which is fine, but it's kind of stale. And the other thing is that when in most of these books, we're kind of combining, like in Smoke Bitten, you combine the Hardesty Witches with Rumpelstiltskin, and then in this book, you combine the Hardesty Witches with Cthulhu. Okay. And then in Burn Bright, you combine...
Pretend Cthulhu.
You combine the Hardesty Witches kind of with Wellesley Thorn Dimension.
Well, I will say at least with... Let's give Burn Bright... I don't know if actually this is to its credit or not. Like in the other ones, like this one, they were a little bit more entwined.
Mm-hmm.
Like the witches made a deal with not Cthulhu. What's his name again? The Singer in the Woods.
The Singer in the Woods.
Yes. They allied with him, whereas, for example, they were just concurrent with Rumpelstiltskin, for example.
Yeah.
We had the book that was all about them.
In the Rumpelstiltskin one, it was really just that Adam was cursed, not even by them, but by Elizaveta.
No, but remember at the end, like the rogue werewolf.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
They were behind that. But then in Burn Bright, though, like there's also Storm Curse. They were the big bad of that book. Burn Bright was all them as well. Like the Skinwalker was one of them. That was the head one of them.
Which was weird though, because they're supposed to be that. We've always been told that that's like Navajo magic.
Perhaps she actually was a Navajo that, like maybe she was a half Navajo, half witchy woo.
We don't get an explanation for that, but anyway.
Yeah, who knows?
Like now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But either way.
But yeah, so even in the books, the more recent books, even if they're not the main plot, they're still in the plot. Like we've had, this is the 4th book in a row,
yeah,
where they've been instrumental in one of the plots of the book.
Right. And the implication is that they were instrumental in kicking off the series, which I assume means that we're hurtling towards the wrap up, or that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I feel like I think this is like this whole Hardesty Witches thing has all come from the fact that the Mercy Thompson books got picked up for more books.
Yeah. Because I don't feel like this is what was supposed to happen.
Well, she was going to end it in, like, after the 10th book, so I imagine Silence Fallen wouldn't have gone the way it went. It probably would have been a completely different book. Like, plot, everything.
I'm not, because I don't know when they got picked up for more books, like at what book.
It was before, it was, I think it was either just before or just after 9 got published.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was before 10, like way before 10 was published. Which is why she killed the walking stick, I believe. She killed Walking in book 9 because she wasn't going to do another book. And then they're like, do 3 more. And she's like, okay, fuck, I killed Walkie. What am I going to do? I'll bring him back. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't get a hint of these guys until after that. So I feel like she's added this
and then when they show up, she's like, oh, they've been here the whole time. And it's like, have they? But okay.
Yeah, well, I think mainly because she'd already been able to tie Frost back to Jerry Wallace and all that stuff, and then so she just tied Frost to them. So now they're all the way back to Jerry Wallace.
Yeah, like it's fine. I'm not that mad about it.
Like it doesn't, like it's come out of nowhere, but it doesn't not. I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm saying it doesn't not make sense.
It is starting to get a little messy. But
yeah,
if it ends after this, it won't be so horribly messy that like.
Yeah. Well, is there going to be any more Alpha Omega books? Do we know? Because the way this one ends, I feel like if like this series ends on this book, and that whole end situation doesn't get so much as a freaking mention in Mercy, like it feels unfinished. But I don't know how many Alpha Omega books there are gonna be though. Like I feel like there needs to be another one after this one. Or it needs to, or like the Last Mercy book has to be like a crossover.
I don't know.
Because you can't, yeah, you can't, like, I mean, I don't expect the potential implications of how this book ends to be resolved by end of series, because she can't.
No, that would be.
But like, you know how in in Bloodlines, how there's the baby that was born to the two Dampiers and like must be kept a secret, and it's wrapped up in a way where you're like, I feel like this kid is going to be safe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get resolved. Like we don't know into his future whether or not he's going to be safe his entire life, all that stuff. Yeah. But you feel satisfied with, you feel like he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and this book
doesn't make me feel like think shit's going to be fine. I don't feel like it will be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it won't be, but it didn't leave us with the feeling that it will be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I don't know.
That said, as well, like if we're gonna have these witches be continually popping up, because also they're instrumental in, like Anna's previous pack as well, because Mac was turned by her pack. He came from there, and he was being experimented on by these guys and all that stuff. So, yeah. Like, so they tie back to the beginning of Alpha and Omega too.
Yeah,
and I feel like if you're going to create these big bads, when they get taken down, I feel like it has to be a crossover.
That feels like kind of the implication, because also in this book you get a whole lot more mentions of Mercy, and
Coyote rocks up.
Ben's in this book, like off screen. But
I do love that Charles. I did love that Charles is like, I need someone to do a thing. I'm cranky. Ben's the best. Because like they're not supposed to be asking Adam's pack for help for anything, and Charles's first instinct is like, where's Ben? I'm like, oh, Ben.
Yeah, it was cute. Give me 1 second.
Okay. I never do good when she leaves me by myself, because I can't do this shit by myself, babe. But there was a lot more, like this book, I feel like was probably the first time that there was mention, we didn't see it on page, but there was mention of Charles actively seeking out Mercy's help in this book. And I don't think we've even heard even a hint of a whisper that Charles has ever asked Mercy for help before. Like this book, Charles is like, I need to get in contact with Coyote. I'm going to call Mercy.
Oh, yeah.
And get her there. And I don't think we've ever had in either series Charles, or even like just referenced in either series, Charles ever reaching out to Mercy for help, even for something as mundane as, hey, can you give Daddy a call and get him to call me?
Right, because we've actually never really had, like, in Alpha and Omega, anybody directly interacting with Mercy or anybody else. We get mentions of the Mercy past.
The only one was in Mooncold, when Mercy goes to Aspen Creek in Mooncold.
Right, but like not, I mean, like in Alpha and Omega, we don't get like.
Oh no, since then we don't.
Yeah, we don't really get like direct interaction from the side of Alpha and Omega. Now, from the side of Mercy, we see her directly interact with Charles and Bran several times throughout the series.
True. Yeah.
But because Mercy's asking for help, like she talks to them.
And then also Charles and Anna, like Anna's only in Mercyverse, like Mercy Thompson once at the wedding. She's not a speaking, she's just mentioned.
Yeah, like we get the implication that Mercy and Anna are friends, but
yeah,
only
like Mercy
by,
sends Anna. Like, yeah, they chat.
Yeah, like because we see them but mostly on Anna's end, we see Anna like cooking, like making brownies using Mercy's recipes, and we see Anna with like several T-shirts that Mercy has sent her. And
yeah, I feel like in regards to the relationship, Anna sees Mercy as her sister-in-law, and Mercy sees Anna as Charles's wife, because half of Mercy still thinks Charles hates her.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in a way, I kind of get it. Like, of course, Mercy's going to have an abandonment complex, you know, because, you know, Daddy died while Mummy was pregnant, and then Mummy couldn't deal with her, so she, you know, shipped her off. Foster Mum died. Foster Dad suicided. The one person she thought loved her, she got told, he doesn't love you, you need to leave. And then she finds out Daddy, only Daddy's current persona died, but Daddy's very much still alive.
Like, I have a theory about why Mercy was really kicked out of Aspen Creek, and it's that to be in Bran's pack and to be accepted, you have to be jerking off to obscure instruments at least 3 times a week.
I will say, I forgot, because I didn't re-listen to the series a few months ago, so it's fresh. I know the series well enough that like I didn't feel the need to go back. I did, however, forget. I fucked up, I fucked up, and I wasn't mentally prepared for it. Because when you bulk listen to him, you get eased into it in the novella. You get eased into it because like Charles is like, oh, I think she'd have a nice alto or whatever, you know, like there's just slow easing into it. So by the time it becomes a thing, you can feel that it's coming. I had forgotten. And this book was like worse than usual, I feel.
We'll get into it, but it definitely like, we'll get into why, but yeah. So my theory, because Leia is also not really accepted, but she also doesn't sing regularly or is that into music. So that's why nobody likes Leia. It's not because of her attitude. It's because she doesn't have dreams of being in a band. That's why everybody likes Sage, because Sage was also musical, and so that's why she fooled everyone. So you can't even. So requirement number 1 of being in Bran's pack is not being broken. It's being obsessed.
Must be musical. Like, oh, like I swear, like there have been. I'm not gonna lie. There have been times where I'm like, I could learn the cello. Like, you know, could be something I'm interested in. The next cello I see, I'm burning, and it's Anna's fault. I'm fucking sick of it.
Here's the problem. Writing out music, or writing, and not even like writing out music, like the feelings of music read awkwardly, even with a writer as skilled as Patricia Briggs. They just, it reads very awkward. And that's just the nature of the beast. It's just really hard. And we've talked about this before, I think, or at least I believe we've mentioned this before. Perhaps
we probably have.
Perhaps if you or I were like music buffs or something, or like we were cello obsessed or something like that, maybe we'd feel differently. Maybe.
Yeah.
But as people who are not, or as somebody who doesn't have the same hobbies as other characters, but then they get similarly described, and that doesn't feel as awkward, maybe that's wrong. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
That said, so I feel like, okay, so like Mercy seems to be the series where she does all of her PSAs, right? Like her hardcore, like social PSAs of whatever cause. Alpha Omega seems to be the series where she's like, see, I know stuff about this. Or like, like she's like, oh, look, I know the musics. And oh, look, I know the horses. I know a fair bit about horses. I used to have one. Horses. And I swear, like, I legit like had a pony. Okay. I was sick of the horse talk by the end of that book.
Yeah, well, also
I used to read Saddle Club and Pony Pals. Okay, like those were my favorite books. Like when I was in the age-appropriate age for those books. So like I would read book like Saddle Club has like over 80 books or something, and I've read I think almost all of them multiple times. The horse talk was far less obnoxious in the horse books.
Well, the issue with Dead Heat, because that's the book that's in, is less that there's a lot of horse talk and more how it's done. So instead of giving us descriptions, she gives us terms. And if you don't know anything about horses, and maybe even if you do, the terms are so dense that you're like, I don't know what that is. But then it's not described to you, so you're like, and unless you're like in a place to Google all the shit.
But then, like the ones that were like explained, I'm just like, it was also like there is no reason that this character. Like I'm pretty sure like there was like a paragraph on what a horse's conformation is, and I'm like, I don't know. Like we're reading an urban fantasy book. Why am I reading about conformation? And why are we learning about like, about Arabian head shapes in an urban fantasy book about a fae that eats kitties?
That's a good question.
And turns them into dolls. Like we're reading about the doll maker. I don't care about a horse's dippy ears when I want to find out who is turning children into dolls.
It's a good question. I don't have the answer to that question.
Like it's like the theme of that episode, right? It's like literally SVU but like werewolves, right? SVU but werewolves.
Yeah.
But we're learning about horses.
Yep.
And this one it's music. This one it's all the music. Like she's even giving us like in I think it was which one was it? The one was it Hunting Ground that they had the conference with the
yes
wolfies?
Yes.
Yeah. So like in that one where like she goes out and does like her piano piece, like because all the alphas are like at each other, and she goes out and plays the piano with the old man. I didn't mind that one too much, right? And it could just be because I'm now mentally comparing it to this book. But like, she was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I just went out and played a tune and did a thingy thing. In this one, she's like, oh,
that scene does go on forever though.
Yeah, but like in this one, but it's
that
got
scene
to the point
takes
that like in this
half
one,
the book. It feels like
I know, but in this one, she's like, oh, the chord progression where it goes from like G minor to C, like to C major to this to that to whatever flat, and I'm just like, excuse you,
no, I don't. I have no idea.
This means nothing to me. but now we're gonna have to do a side by side Patty and cast comparison, because Patty has now done something that the casts have done, which is they have defeated the problem with music. In the cast, in the Dysisters, they sung and danced a tornado away, and they landed a plane. But at least when Patty, if you're gonna have him sing a monster away, she did it right, where she told you the song, and it was like, yeah, she told you the song, and she just trusts you. She trusts you. There was no tweetly dee, tweetly dee, tweetly dee.
Okay. So much worse than the other one. Yeah, the cast did it worse.
In this one, it was just like in this one, Leia was just like, "Hey, you know, Queen," and Anna's like, "Yes, yes, yes," and she's like, "Okay, well, you need to sing that, okay?" And she's like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because it'll stop him." And she's like,
"I
have
to admit, though, if I had been Anna, I would have been like, all right, fine, like." Mama, like that. And she would be like, no, you idiot. Although if she had specified instead like a defiant song, I might have done like "We're Not Gonna Take It" or something like that.
She even tries to do "We're Not Gonna Take It" in it, and she's like, but she's like, I knew the first two lines and I panicked, so I went back to "We Will Rock You."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I missed that. Okay, but we should get into the plot. So real quick, we'll briefly recap some characters. So we have Charles, Bran is the Marach. He's the ruler of the werewolves in North America. And by North America, I mean North America, not just the U.S. Charles is his youngest son, but he's 200 years old. Anna is his 26-year-old mate. And so she is an Omega werewolf, which, by the way, Lindsay Ellis, that does not mean that she goes into heat and Charles starts rutting and shit like that. Anna cannot get pregnant. What that means is
this is not there's a weird wolf fetish thing that is often gay. It often involves homosexuals. And it's referred to as
not
Alpha
that there.
Omega. This is not.
Now there are gay werewolves in this, and they can mate. No, but it's not it's not an alpha. It's not like an Omegaverse type of mating. So there's no
that's what it's called, or anything like. Omegaverse is weird. There's pregnant men. It's a rabbit hole.
This is not that. So what it means is
and
that
someone Ruth told us it was this.
For the dominant and submissive wolves, they just you would be ranking them from to top to the most dominant to the most submissive, because top to bottom, never mind. Anyway, Omegas are outside the pack structure and they have special weed powers. So that's what Anna is. We also have Leia is a big player in this book, and she's Bran's mate. Historically, we've been told that Leia's a piece of shit bitch, which is now getting revised.
But we've gotten hints in previous books. I can't remember if it was the last one or the one before. It was the last one where, she was all upset and hurt. Yeah. Like when Bran comes back and she was she was actually hurt. I think even in a previous one as well, she just wished that, I think she just came and cuddled into him after he'd been a dick to her.
Yeah.
We've gotten hints, but she's not a pleasant person. And she's spent most of Mercy's life, wanting to kill her.
Yeah. But we've also, to be fair, we've also always been told that, her situation's pretty sad, where she's mated to Bran, but Bran doesn't love her. But she probably loves him. And so she's just kind of stuck.
Yep. And half of that was confirmed, for sure, this book, where she loves him. And I don't know what Bran, that's the other thing as well. How does Bran actually feel about her? Because that was kind of just we weren't told. Stuff was implied, but we weren't told anything.
Yeah. So. And then there's also Tag, who is, I'm pretty sure Holter Graham changed his voice, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know. I think.
Because I always remember him having an accent.
Did he not have an accent this book?
No.
I think but sometimes it's thicker than other times.
He didn't have any accent this book. He just had like a squeaky high-pitched voice.
So okay, so he had the same like sound, but not the right pronunciation.
Yeah. Also, real quick, Holter Graham's narration was very strange in this book.
Yeah.
I don't know if like he's not getting old or anything. He's like 49. I looked up his age because I was like,
I didn't like his coyote voice, and I still don't forgive him for calling Leia. Because in Mercy, she's Leah. In this series, she's Leia.
Yeah, that's another thing that bothers me. So Patricia Briggs is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, but they can't get the narrators to pronounce words the same. Like Marak, Merrick, Coyote, Coyote. Leah.
Okay,
Leia.
Okay. At least, okay, with the coyote thing though, I think it was only pronounced that way when Charles said it.
No, he never.
And when Coyote said it. Oh, didn't he?
No. I paid very close attention to that. Not that I can think of. If I ever reread it, I will let you know.
I will say with Coyote, there's God knows how many different pronunciations of that word.
Yes, there is.
Coyote, coyote. With like, I'm not attempting the actual accent on that one, but
that's the Spanish pronunciation is like is a coyote, but like or whatever. Sorry if I pronounced that kind of wrong, but instead of coyote, it's a te at the end. But. Like
I'm willing to forgive the different pronunciations on that one word.
But it's just kind of annoying
that one word
in a book where you would assume that they would put money into it, that they can't just get the narrators to be like that Holter Graham wouldn't even like listen to how Lorelai King pronounced shit and then just pronounce it the same.
Well, I also just want to double check something, right? Because I just want to double check the spelling of Leia/Leia's name. I'm pretty sure it has an H, but I just want to double check.
Yeah,
if it has an H, then he's the dum in the situation. Leah. Yeah. So he doesn't know how to pronounce Leah, and no one's corrected him.
But those are the characters you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
So we start with like a girl in the woods in California.
A woman in the woods.
Or woman in the woods, sorry. And she's going to see her dad. Then the town is gone.
Flashback time.
So we flash back. We flash back to before during Silence Fallen, before whatever. Before Burn Bright, to them with an explicitly fat werewolf, and they're out on a shopping trip with Sage and Leah, and the important thing is that Leah hums a song, and it's creepy.
Yep, and also someone ends up being like, so how did you and Brian do a matey mate? And she was like, well, it's
Sage that asks it, which the important thing about that is that Sage is part of the Hardesty Witches. And so Sage asking it, like, because Sage is tied to where this happened. So.
Yeah. And plus what it does as well is it gives an indication as to the memory loss already, because Leah's like, this was the story. I was 15. We were starving, and then they came and saved us, and then Bran did a matey mate. And they're like, so Bran was 15 when you mated, and she's like,
oh, you were 15.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, there we go. And she's like, no, I was at least 20. And they're like, and then Anna works out that, they were starving, then there's a 5-year gap, and then
in the story anyway.
And she won't expand on it at all. And then she creepy hums.
Yeah, and they're creeped out. And they're like, I wonder why Leia doesn't sing or whatever. And then that's kind of it. And then we're into chapter 1.
And the music for playing.
Yeah. The band that gets mentioned here, The Who, the Mongolian band, I thought it was funny because it's a band that my boyfriend Noah actually has shown me, because they have a song that features Papa Roach. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking them out. But I was like, okay. But anyway, so we're just kind of hanging out in Aspen Creek or whatever. They're musicking as usual. And then the FBI shows up. So Leslie and
Goldstein
show up.
Yeah, and I will say the blurb misled us, right? Because when we looked into this, right, like we thought that there was going to be like an adventure with the FBI, hopefully Leslie. She just rocked up in the first scene.
No, but all we do is just they rock up, and we're just mean to them, and then we don't see them again.
Yeah, I did live for Bran in this scene though.
I did too. Bran was hilarious in this scene.
Because like Charles is about to answer the door when it knocks, and Bran, like, because he can telepath to them, he's like, no, Charles, you do a shifty shift, Anna, you answer the door. And they're like, okay. And so they come in, and they're like, Anna, are you the Moroccan? And she's like, whatever would make you think that? And they're like, well, they all seem to listen to her. And she's like, I guess they do, don't they? And then they're like, here's a mapping map. And then Bran just walks in. He just knocks on the door, and he's doing his, like, pizza boy appearance thing. And he's just like, hi, can I have a look at that? He looks at the map, smiles at them, pats Charles on the head because he's a wolf. He's like, okay, I'm out, bye. And leaves.
And then they're like, and then the FBI agents are like,
they're like, who was that? And I was like, oh yeah, that was the Murrock. Like that's boss man. And they're like, no, he's not. And she's like, well,
and then
Anna's like, I told you.
Well, and Anna's point is like, well, you were under the impression that I was the Murrock, which, like, I don't know what makes me wrong, but like, so why couldn't he be the Murrock if I'm the Murrock? Like,
yeah, she's like, that's literally my father-in-law, just so you know. Like, I know he looks like he's 12, okay, but he's not. He's at least 1,600 years old. I think that's the minimum age we've established by this point for Bran.
Yeah, we still kind of don't know, but in any case,
yeah.
So we find out that there's a town missing. It's called it's a town settlement thing called Wild Sign. So then they're like, will you go check it out? And they're like, yeah. Also the FBI is like, we want an alliance with the werewolves. And they're like, meh. And they're like, meh. And then the FBI leaves. So then.
Yeah, because it's on property owned by Aspen Creek Inc., which is Bran.
Yeah.
Which is why they're gone there.
So then we go talk. So then Charles goes to talk to Bran. And they have a chatty chat about this place. And Bran is like, let me tell you about Leah and this. And we find out that Sherwood is a wolf
from Mercy. that's lost his memory.
Yeah. Sherwood is a wolf from Mercy's pack who was sent to the Mercy from Bran, who lost his memory, and we don't know what his real name is or whatever. Bran knows what his real name is.
And we're starting to get hints that he's a very powerful force in Mercy, which is also a thing here.
So, Bran's like there. Bran's like, over there, there's a bad thing. And Charles is like, there's always a bad thing, no shit. And Bran's like, okay. So Charles is like, can you tell me more about it? And Bran's like, when I went to rescue Leia, there was a bad thing. And Sherwood something, he like tried to stop it or whatever. Like we all tried to stop it. And then I believe that Sherwood purposely lost his memory. So I'm mad at him. And when
I forced Leia through surviving a change and forcibly mated her
because the entire settlement was dying. So I saved Leah's life by doing this. And Charles is like, damn,
that's awful. How could you?
Yeah, Charles is like, yeah, that's awful. How could you?
I have a crying spawn. I'll be back in a sec.
But yeah, so we learned that also that Sherwood Post helped Bran save Leah, and that he like magically did a thing. It's not really clear exactly what he did, but it was something powerful. And that Bran and Sherwood like pulled Leah through the change, and then Bran mated her and saved her, and then. But also, there's something bad happening. It's not dead, and whatever. And at this point, that's all we know. We also, before we leave, Charles says to Anna, "Oh, by the way, Sam said he's going to help us have a baby because that's something that Charles and Anna have been talking about for the past couple of books." So, Tag, just a werewolf from Bran's pack, is being sent with them because for some reason. He has something sort of like Mercy's immunity to magic, but not really. It's like it, but Mercy's immunity to magic, because she's Native American, is because she is a walker, like because she shapeshifts into a coyote differently than how werewolf shapeshift. So her immunity to magic is different. But because Tag is, we don't know what or why, but random immunity to magic that we find out about, and then they're like, so Tag is going with you. So that's why. So we set off, we get to California, and we're going to Wild Sign. And we stop kind of in a town at like a gas station restaurant. They're like, what is this establishment? We don't know. We go in, we meet another Native American named Ford. We find out that he is a Sasquatch.
I did like that there was a Sasquatch in this.
So there are Sasquatches now.
Yes. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
I mean, we've had Rumpelstiltskin, so I'm fine with Bigfoot.
So, he is a Sasquatch.
The best part is they didn't tell Anna. They didn't tell Anna that he was Bigfoot.
Oh, so Anna doesn't know?
The other two knew. They were chatting. And then when they went to leave, she was like, what was he? Because she could tell he was something. And then she sees something to do with Bigfoot. And she was like, do not tell me that we were just talking to a Sasquatch and you did not tell me. And they're like, well, who else did you think we'd be talking to? And yeah, I liked that. I liked that they just were like, why else do you think we stopped at some random gas station and spoke to a guy? Of course it's Bigfoot.
But also Tag is the one who's really friendly with the resident Sasquatch.
Yeah, which I think is half of why he's also there as well.
Yeah. So we we're camping, whatever, and we get to Wild Sign into the mountains and all that, and people are indeed missing. And this is not just like a camp; it's like a real settlement with like not a primitive
cabins, word, tents, and yurts.
Yeah, like yurts and shit, and people are gone. We also find a whole bunch of dead pets. That there's no black magic, so they were intentionally killed. And they're like, okay, so somebody had time to kill pets. Probably because they knew that they were all going to die, maybe we guess. So they didn't want the pets to suffer. Okay, that's kind of weird. Yeah. And then worse than dead pets, we find.
Oh wait! Before we get to that, they're very confused because there's indications that they knew something bad was going to happen and that they were preparing to leave. So at this point, there's like, look, they could have just gone. And then Charles finds a thing that is like a multi-generational, incredibly powerful, protective white witch protection ring. And he's like, they wouldn't have left that behind. But there is also no evidence of any foul play anywhere. And it appears that the whole place was filled with white witches. But then, yes, worse than the 18 dead pets, including the Chihuahua.
Which
they thought was a baby initially.
So 17 dead pets. Anyway, sorry. So worse than the 18 dead pets. We find abandoned instruments, which genuinely, they're more upset about the abandoned instruments than they are of the dead pets.
I mean, one of the things I can understand it was like, I think it was like, what was it? I think it was a Gibson or something. I don't know. There's a guitar that was worth like tens of thousands of dollars, and Charles is like, that ain't good. But people don't just leave that shit lying around.
Charles is like, that's just disrespectful.
But Anna was like, Anna's emotional response to seeing that was also, I imagine, the emotional response of people walk into finding a loved one dead.
Yeah.
Like brutally murdered, dead.
Yes.
Yeah. That was her emotional response.
It was really over dramatic, I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, I think I was like, would have had the same sort of response as like Tag, where it's just like, this is weird.
Yeah, I would have been like, this
is really weird.
And then when Charles was like, these are expensive, I would have been like, okay, even weirder, I guess.
And it's just like, how could they do that?
Yeah, it was a lot. So then they're like, the place, Charles and Tag are like, this place has like the magical woo feeling of an old battlefield. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And they're like, sacrifices have made
it. Bad juju.
It's got bad juju. And then Anna finds a recorder, which...
Oh, God. And I'm like, of all the instruments she could have picked up to do a play on.
Like, gross.
She had to pick up the bane of, I think, every parent with school. I don't know if it's the same there, but here, I'm so glad my daughter's school does not send recorders home anymore.
How to play recorder.
I did too in primary school and in high school.
I'm sure my parents.
But my daughter's school does violin now.
Yeah. I'm sure my parents still have nightmares about me playing the recorder.
Because her school doesn't do recorders anymore. They do violin bay. The kids get sent home with violins now at my daughter's school. I was like, yes.
Here's the problem with recorders. Even if you're playing a recorder well,
you can be the best. You can be the best flautist on the planet. You cannot play a recorder well.
It still sounds awful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but she picks up the recorder
and she starts playing it, and now there's musical drama. And this is where my note.
And then the boys are like, "Oh, we know this song."
And this is where my note, where she got kicked out of Brand's pack because she doesn't jack off to miscellaneous instruments. Changed my mind. And so, so then
the boys Anna's sing the verses, and then Anna starts singing while she's playing.
So they're like, "How is she singing? Oh no!" And so then they're like, "This is bad. We should stop her." But then they can't stop her. And so then Anna actually finishes the song, and now she has amnesia. Send help. So,
and then we jump into Anna's head.
We jump into her head
while she was playing. She was. It was the night that she tried to kill herself with pre-series, where she got gang raped by the whole pack.
Yeah, so she's back at the Chicago pack meeting, and then like we see Justin like bite her and stuff, and like with his teeth. With his human teeth, and like she's trying to kill herself. But
the suicide thing is she has memories of doing that after that, but like because she snaps out of it just before the rape happens. But then she's in her head, she like effectively teleported from there to the field. But she still has memories of what happened after, and she's confused. So that's how we learned that was the night she tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
Which, fair. Like, fair.
So, yeah, so like when she thinks she's been teleported to the middle of nowhere, and then she sees Charles and Tag. She's like, "Who are you guys?" And they're like, "What?" And also she's terrified because they're giant dominant werewolves.
Yeah. But she's still, and it's weird because she can remember what happened after, but she doesn't know how because that hasn't happened yet in her mind. And she's like, "What the hell?" And she also feels like she should be able to feel safe with Charles, but she doesn't understand why it's a thing. And then Charles is like, "Justin's dead," and she's like, "No, he's not." And she's like, yes, he is." And then he's like, "But look, we're all gonna wolf, and you can feel safe." Because wolves are good boys, and she's like, "Okay." So then they good boy, and go back to camp.
Yeah. And then so
she wakes up. She's got her memory back. Brother Wolf's taken over Charles's body though, because apparently she tried to escape in the middle of the night or something, and Brother Wolf is like, "Charles, you're a dum-dum, I'm taking over." But then she's still not actually untaken over yet, and because Brother Wolf doesn't know how to do the throat singing that Charles can do, I don't know why Brother Wolf wouldn't be able to throat sing like Charles, but he can't. So then they almost lose her again, but then Charles does a throat sing and she's fine.
Yeah,
and then they make phone calls.
Yeah, so then they start. Oh, also, sorry, earlier before all the magic music singing amnesia, they found coded letters addressed to people that were
addressed to the woman that was in the first scene.
Yeah, that was in like the prologue letters. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they found checks written by another woman to a man.
So, we talked to Bran and Mia.
Yeah.
Briefly. I forget about what.
I think just that, "Hey, this is what's going on." And they're like, "Okay, well, do keep us apprised." And they're like, "Okay." And yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. So then,
they arranged to, the guy that was getting the checks, he's in a nursing home. So they arranged with his doctor to see him in 2 days, and then they arranged to see the daughter from the first scene, like because she's the daughter of one of the peeps. They arranged to see her the next morning because it's already afternoon. So then we go there.
Yes, and then we go. And
she's like, "You read my letters," and they're like, "Well, look, we tried to read the letters, but they're all coded. Okay, so if you can translate, that would be lovely."
Yeah, and they're like, "We didn't crack the code," and then Charles sniffs her, and Brother Wolf to Anna's brain is like, "She's a white witch," and Anna goes, "Oh, we're werewolves. You're a white witch. Yeet," and she's like, "Ugh." And then they're like, "So can you actually talk to us?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess." And then her Dr. Connors, Sissy Connors, that's her name. Her wife shows up. Her wife doesn't matter. And so,
no, her wife has made friends with Xander.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so anyway,
and she's like, "You should go talk to Xander because he's spoken to them, like peeps up there."
Yeah, so her wife shows up, and Sissy Connors is like, "Okay, I'm gonna get the letters translated for you." And then the wife is like, "Oh, this mysterious photographer Xander or whatever is a thing. He's spoken to these people." And Anna's like, "Oh, a photographer?
I love his work.
I love his work. I have all his books." So then we go to get snow cones from a photographer. He plays a familiar.
Yeah, sorry. Go.
He plays a familiar song on his guitar. She loses about 10 minutes of memory and says nothing to Charles about it.
It was after. She lost the 10 minutes memory after she reunited with Charles, though.
Yeah. But she doesn't say anything to Charles.
The second he started playing on his guitar, and she was like, "I think I know that song," and that I got flashbacks to the flashback scene, and I'm like, Tim. As soon as he started playing his guitar, I'm like, "It's him."
Yep,
it's him. Did you?
Yeah. I was like, he's the bad guy. I was like, this is the bad guy.
Yep. Spoiler alert. He is. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, photographer that we love so much. OMG, he plays a familiar song on a guitar in a book where songs are the bad. Yeah, he's the bad. So then they go to an assisted living home to meet the guy. The other guy.
Wait, they go to the storage. They go to the storage facility first. The chick who's the chick who wrote the checks to nursing home dude also had a storage unit. So then they go there. There's a bunch of what's the word? It's in it so much. Spell books. What are they called?
Grimoires.
Grimoires. There we go.
Grimoires.
Yeah, there's a bunch of grimoires and shit. So Charles is like, "Well, this ain't good." So then they go back to the hotel, and then it's the next day again.
Yeah, and then they go to the nursing home.
No, yeah, and they're like, "This is a really weird nursing home because they have to they have to drive up this really shitty road and shit." And they're like, "This isn't normal." And then they get there, and they're like, and Charles is like, "Tag, you stay here. Place is dangerous, Anna. Don't stray." And she's like, "Okay."
Yep. And so they get in, and Charles figures this out first, but we'll just go ahead and say it. The place is sus, and
yep.
It's just like it's run by black witches. It's got like wards everywhere. There's magic all over the place, and there's magic to suppress the magic that's all over the place. But Charles can feel it because Charles is witch-born on both sides. But from two different continents.
And Anna isn't feeling any of this, and she also gets the doctor's like, "We're gonna take you out to the garden to go see Daniel, and then you're gonna come and talk to me." And he spells Anna to Like, he spells her at that time. And Charles is like, I'm just going to do my witchy woo stuff myself. Because he actually uses his European witchcraft this book, which we've never seen before.
No, we've never seen him do that. But he does it to counteract that spell because he's like, this guy's not very powerful, which he's not. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to do that. And so then it doesn't really work because he stops it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they go out to the garden, and apparently the whole garden feels a lot like Anna's Omega powers, where like it just makes like you chill and placid and stuff. Mm-hmm. But instead it's making, and that feeling is very disconcerting to Charles. So it's actually giving him the opposite effect. And then they go to the guy, and Charles immediately recognizes him, and he recognizes Charles, and he's like, "Are you here to kill me?" And Charles is like, "Unfortunately, no."
Yeah.
And it turns out it's the chick who had whatever written the checks and stuff. It's his granddaughter.
Yeah.
And Grandpop is very, 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 very cross that she was giving away her magic to the thing that is a god that is not a fae, but they tried to bargain with it like a fae. And stupid them, they're all dead. Fuck that bitch. That her power should have been mine because she was nothing but a filthy Wiccan. And then we find out later what. So apparently he ran a child trafficking network where they would import children and then make them little more than compliant dolls, for want of a better term, and then sold them.
Yep.
And Charles was very cranky because the children couldn't be saved, so obviously they all had to get like they couldn't be fixed at all. They were just nothing. So then Charles had to kill a bunch of kids, and Charles is very cranky. And his biggest regret was that he didn't get to hunt this guy down and kill him. But Charles lets him live because the guy's begging Charles by the end to just kill him.
And Charles is like, well, right now you're being tortured by black witches, and sounds good to me.
Yep, you'll be tortured by black witches till the day you die. And then when you die, they're going to cut you apart and use you even further. And like, you're going to have zero dignity in death, and fuck you.
Also, this guy mentioned walkers, and Charles is like, yeah, walkers in the world, and Charles is like, what kind of walkers?
And then he's like, mercy, mercy, mercy.
Yeah, he's like, mercy.
And turns out that, yeah, Mercy isn't Walker as in Skinwalker. She's Walker as in Walker in the world.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Mercy's going to know that next book, or if she's going to say, I'm a walker, but not like a Skinwalker. That's just a mistake. I wonder how she's going to tell us at the beginning of the next book what walker means.
But also, like, then we meet a Hardesty witch who was Pergonet.
Yep.
Pergonet with a walker.
And she's like, why would it? Yeah, and she's like, why would I let you go? I'm going to do a feasty feast. And Charles is like, no, you're not. And I can't remember why not. I can't remember why she said why she decided to let them go. But I think he
literally just is like, no, I don't think you will. And she just goes, okay.
No, I swear he does something kind of threatening.
I think he does like a magic-y thing. And then I
can't remember. But she lets them leave, and then they go out, and Tag's just like, the witches are a brewing, and Charles is like, I know, shall we leave? And he's like, yes, we shall leave. And Anna's like, why are we letting that man get tortured? So then Charles says who it is, and Tag's like, oh, let him get tortured. And she's like, but why? And then they tell her, and she's like, okay, yeah, let's let him get tortured.
So then they talk to Bran, and Bran's like, Leah's missing.
Yep.
She's
and they're like,
you.
They all assume Yeah, they all assume she's heading their way. And they're like, how? And he's like, oh, she's running. And they're like, okay, so she'll be here in about 2.5 days. Okay, so we'll meet her. You know, and this was actually really, like, we find out later, right? Because Brand's like, I can't come because you're gone. And how do you say his name again? Azil.
Asiel,
yeah. He is in Billings, so like there's no one there that can they're the 3 most dominant wolves in the pack, and no one else can control the other wolves, so Brand can't go. But then we find out later, it's really cute. Like I think what we're meant to feel by the end is like that Brand doesn't hate Leah in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And that he's actually quite fond of her, if not more.
Yeah.
But we don't know. But we'll get to the cute stuff, I guess, when we get to the cute stuff.
So then we figure out that they're not Mercy style. I think Charles calls Mercy, and is like, "Hey, we don't see this. We don't see this." But he's like, "Hey, can you talk to Coyote?" And she's like, "Yep." And but we figure out that they're not like Mercy style walkers. He is a Manitou, or this is the theory anyway. He's a Manitou. The singer in the woods is a Manitou, and like Coyote and Wolf and Raven and Hawk, he can do a bow chicka bow wow and can make walkers.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll tie up the mythology of this guy, or well, not the mythology, I guess, the etymology of this guy once we get to the point where we know it all, like the conversation with Coyote at the end.
Yeah. So then they because they theorize this, they go back to Dr. Connor, and she's like fighting with her wife.
Oh, because they work out that the Preggers witch is pregnant with his thing, and Tag's like, oh, the doctor yesterday, she's pregnant.
Oh yeah.
They're like, oh no.
And they're like, oh no, because she was hiking into Wild Sign and she wouldn't remember if she got pregnant. So, and she's also connected to Xander through her wife. So that's another important thing. So then they go back to her, and her and her wife are fighting or whatever. And then Anna's like, yo, you Pergonat.
Rosemary's baby.
Huh?
She's like, Rosemary's baby. And wife is like, oh.
What's Rosemary? Okay. I didn't get that at all.
So Rosemary's Baby, it's a movie.
Okay.
I don't know if it's also a book, but it's definitely a movie. And I haven't seen it, but Rosemary, I think Rosemary's the chick, obviously, that this happens to. She gets drugged and knocked up by Satan, and she has no memory of it. And then she's pregnant with Satan's baby.
So then, so they're like, you're pregnant because you did a hike and you didn't cheat on anybody, and like that's how you know. And then she's like, oh, okay. And so now they're not going to get a divorce.
And Yep. So then Anna leaves. Charles and Tag are going through the storage unit, getting out all the amulets they can find, stuff like that. And they're like, there's a lot of shit here. We're gonna have to send a crew back to sort through all this shit. Because Charles, like, they didn't just break into the storage unit. Like, Charles bought it. It's fine. Like, it's all on the up and up. And Anna's like, I'm gonna go get pizza, because she gets back. She's like, I'm gonna go get pizza, and he's like, okay. And then when she comes back, she smells like snow cones. And he's like, why do you smell like snow cones? And she's like, just because I do. I went and got a snow cone and had a chitty chat with Zandy Man. And he's like, okay. And then we switch to Anna when they're going back to the hotel. She mentioned a piece of paper in her pocket.
Real quick, before that happens, Anna's like, Anna gets back because we don't see what happened with Xander. We're just told that like a thing happened, and she looks at Charles. She goes, "Oh, I figured out the mystery chord progression. It was whatever the fuck it was."
That's right.
Which is like a neon sign, like, "Hey, he's the bad guy." And so then.
Yeah, and she mentions there being a piece of paper in her pocket at some point. Like she doesn't say it out loud. Like she notices a piece of paper in her pocket and she's like, no, I better put that back in. And then her and Charles do bangy bang. They fall asleep. Then she wakes up, gets dressed and leaves and goes and meets Xander.
And Xander's like, hey, how old are you? And she goes, oh, I'm 17. And he goes, aw. And she's like, hey, I'm jailbait. And he's like, that's adorable. And he's like, get in the car with me. And she's like, okay.
So I think I think the how old are you? I'm 17 thing. I think that's obviously a conditioning thing to make sure that her memory's gone all funky funk. You know, it's not. Yeah. I think he's just confirming that his spell is working.
Yeah. So then they get in the car. He's talking to her. She's like telling him about her life. Like, oh, I'm worried about this. Oh, band practice. Oh, my dad. Oh, my brother. And then she starts to think about other stuff, and like other stuff starts to like flood in. And then she stopped. Then like it starts to kind of break through the thing. And then he sings to her. And then he's like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 17. I'm blah, 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 blah. I'm jailbait. And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
And then Anna,
and she's like, oh, look, a wolf.
Yeah, she's like, oh, look, a wolf. And he goes, no, that's a coyote, you dumb bitch. And she's like, I think that might be a wolf. And then we cut to Leia. And
she's been running for days. She's exhausted because she's like obviously expended a lot of energy. She's like visibly thinner. And she sees the car and she's like, that must be Charles because the way it's driving. She's like, because Tag would have crashed the car already down this road. Anna would be driving like a nana. Must be Charles. And then she sees the face of the person driving.
Well, she sees like, Anna, and she's like, okay. She sees Anna. She's like, oh, excellent. Then she sees Xander, and she's like,
that person should be dead.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like, he should be dead. And then she's like, and she runs really fast. And then we cut to Tag, and Tag wakes up and he's like, Sammy wakes him up and he's like, how did I sleep? Because like the previous night, all the cars kept me awake and I couldn't sleep and this and that. And I feel magic. So then he goes and has to bust down the door and like throw water on Charles to wake him up. And he's like, dude, how are you not waking up? And he's like, Anna's gone. He's like, I know Anna's gone. And Charles is like, I feel sleepy. I want to go back to sleep. He's like, there's magic, motherfucker. And then they find the paper in Anna's pocket, and it's runes. And I'm guessing it's a sleepy spell.
Yeah, it's a sleepy spell. So then Charles is like, Charles does like a grr at the magic.
And the magic is like, sorry, and then it leaves.
Yeah, the magic is like, oh my god. So then it goes, oh, and leaves. And so then they obviously they go.
Jack steals the car and they go.
And so then Anna and Xander are in a cave, and Xander's like, we're gonna bounce around, but wait here, because he hears something. He's like, wait here. And so then Anna's like, okay. And then she's thinking like, I kind of want to leave. I would like to. Also, Xander kisses her a couple times, by the way.
Yeah.
But then she hears noises.
Then she hears noises, and she's like, this sounds like tentacle porn.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I wasn't comfortable in that, especially when she was like, this sounds like the tentacle porn that went around my high school. And of course I watched it. And it was especially funny because at one point my dad came in to see what was happening, and he stayed just long enough to watch a tentacle go where it shouldn't have gone. And then he just shook his head and walked out. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I know of it. I know what it is, and I have no interest. Right? Never seen tentacle porn. I'm fine with that. But had I been in high school watching tentacle porn, and my dad walked in, like she wasn't watching it and getting off to it. She was like, it was her and a few friends, and they're like, "Oh, this is weird," you know. Had that been in my house, one, I think I would have been yelled at. Like, they would have been like, "What the fuck are you watching?" Like, turn it off.
Yeah,
but
same,
also
same
I don't think I don't. And but had he had that response, the same response as Anna's dad, and being like, and like, you know, leaves, I don't think I would look back at that and be like, oh, dad.
I think I would have been like, that was the most awkward moment of my life.
Yeah.
Because that would be like,
because he grabbed a hand, like, because he grabbed a handful of popcorn to watch it as well. It's like, oh, what's this? And then he just kind of backs away slowly. I don't think he would have gotten. Yeah. I would have had to have paused long before I got to the tentacle insertion. Because it would have been like, Dad, what are you doing? This is weird. I know it's tentacle porn, but you still can't be watching porn with me. It's weird. It's weird. One time I came to visit, right? And my mum was watching Game of Thrones. And there was relations happening on the screen. And I just had to get up and leave the room until that scene finished. I'm like, I can't. My mum is sitting right there. It's too awkward.
Yeah.
I feel awkward watching it, like, if there's kissing on screen with my parent. Like with
like Game of Thrones is not a parents friendly show.
Like, they can watch it just separately.
Just not with me.
Yeah.
But in any case, so he's off doing tentacle porn, and Leah runs in, and Leah is like, Anna, and Anna's like, what are those? You know, she's like, who are you? And Leah's
like Leah's butt naked.
Yeah, Leah's butt naked because she's been running from my
and this was the exact moment as well that it's obvious that, like, because there was also reference earlier that, like, Leah had a baby in those 5 years. Turns out she had more than one kid, but anyway. But as soon as she walked in, I'm like, he's a kid. Because she was like, a woman walked in, and she looked just like Xander, but woman.
Yeah. And Leah's like, you know, Anna, hey, come on.
We will rock you. Come on, Anna.
Yeah, she's like, you know, come on, you dumb bitch. We will fucking rock you, okay? We will rock you.
And Anna's
please.
Like, yep, let's go.
And Anna's like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. And Leah's like, thank God.
Because but apparently because they have to have, like, you know, the intent behind the song as well. It's not just like, you know, like just a we will rock you. Like, they have to be belting that song out the way it should be belted. So they're running through pitch black caves, belting at the top of their lungs, we will rock you. And I swear, I don't know. At this point, I don't know what's a funnier mental image. That or swing dancing a plane to safety.
Swing dancing a plane to safety.
I don't know, though. I don't know, though, if there's swing dancing a plane to safety is a funnier mental image, though. I don't know if that's a funny mental image because she wrote out the lyrics. And we had to listen to Emma Galvin read them in the most weird way. Because I think in that one it was feeling good. So she was like, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. and I'm feeling good.
Well, it's just what is really funny is that like this very serious person, Leah, has to like come in and she's like, fuck, Anna's all fucked up. And she's like, all right, fuck it.
Buddy, you're a boy.
Yeah. And she's like, you're a rebellious teenager. Come on. And she's like, what are you doing here? And like it's more like the image of Leah and Anna singing a defiant rock ballad together is just hilarious. Like,
yeah, so then they finished that, and then they tried another song that Leah didn't know, so Anna's like, well, that's no good. And then they did another one, and Anna's like, I can't remember the words to this one. So then it's like, fuck it, we will rock you. Okay, we're just gonna sing it on repeat. So they sing it on repeat until Wild Xander appears. And he's like, you thought you could get away from me. And then he looks at his Leah and he's like, Mummy, tis that you? And she's like, tis I. And he's like, yeah, I thought you died. And she's like, I thought you died. He's like, I didn't die. And she's like, no, you've been a naughty boy. He's like, no, I had consent. And she's like, no, you drugged them. You drugged them with magic and you did a lot of rape-a-doodles.
Yeah, so we get an explanation for what rape is, in case we were all confused.
In case you weren't. Yes. When you fuck with someone's head and then bang them, that like if you make them not know who they are and then bang them, that you can't consent if you don't know who you are. It's just a thing. Like you can't hypnotize people into sex. It's fine. Like it's fine. We know, but he didn't know. So you have to tell him.
So we have to explain to him how rape works.
And he's like, but Daddy needs me because that nasty, nasty beast cut out Daddy's tongue and now he can't sing. And Leah's like, well, that's good. I'm glad he can't sing.
And
at some point, they found mummies. Yeah. They also found mummies. Yeah. They found mummies, which turns out to be all the inhabitants of Wild Zion.
Yeah.
But then Leah stabs him or does something. I don't know. Oh, also while Charles and Tag are like driving, he goes to call Bran. But Azeel answers and he's like, oh no, your daddy, he called me back from Billings so he could come and rescue Leah. So he's on his way.
Yeah.
And he's bringing Jonesy's sword. Jonesy is the Fae, the really, really powerful Fae that died last book.
Who is also a son of Lou, we find out.
Yes. And the sword was made by Z.
Yeah. So he's Beauclair's brother.
So, yes.
Jonesy was Beauclair's brother.
So, which I can kind of see, like, with what Beauclair did with, like, the river and stuff versus what Jonesy did to the mountain.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it. Like, I'm not, like, yeah.
So, he's on his way.
Yeah,
then basically, we'll just skip to this part. So basically, like, we wind up with everybody but Bran is there, and we're fighting a tentacle monster.
But they work out. Tag's response when he finds out, because Anna's like, I heard, like, it sounded like tentacle porn, and Leah's like, we're getting pretty accurate. The giant squid thing. And Anna's like, it sounds like a cave squid, and Tag gets so excited.
He's like, we get to fight Cthulhu.
And the other's like, I don't think it's Cthulhu. And he's like, no, it's fucking Cthulhu. And then Anna's like, it is Cthulhu because they
have like first
tortured
of like
guy.
Lovecraft books.
Yeah, the tortured guy kept on saying that the thing has not become yet, so they had to make him.
So they made him Cthulhu.
But he has not yet become. So they made him Cthulhu.
But they made him
can you imagine
Cthulhu.
though? Like, they made the... I mean, it's an interesting choice from Patty on this one because, like, he's a singing... Like, I initially thought we were going to get, like, and this might have been because we had, like, Rumpelstiltskin in the previous book, but I thought we were going to be dealing with, like, the Pied Piper or something.
Yeah, me
in this
too.
one. That's what I was expecting. And in fact, it's Pied Piper cross Cthulhu.
Honestly, it's kind of adorable.
If the Pied Piper was a squid.
I have a feeling that Patty is just a giant nerd who really wanted to write about Cthulhu, which I kind of stand. I stand that. I stand that energy.
Yeah. Yeah, like she wanted to fit Cthulhu in, and she didn't know how because she's like, it's about music, and she's like, I know, they made him. They made him look like Cthulhu.
And honestly, I stand the energy of like, I really wanted them to fight Cthulhu, so fuck it, they're Cthulhu, and I love it. I love the fuck it energy. I stand.
Yeah.
I stand that. So, you know, if you want your characters to fight Cthulhu, you make your characters fight Cthulhu. Good for you.
So it's it's pouring rain. There's like a hole that they know he's going to come out of, but it's not full yet. And they're like, well, we need to do shift to shift. So Tag shifts first because like they take it in turns to shift, which like makes sense. Tag shifts, then Charles is like, Leah, you good? You look really skinny and tired. And she's like, I'm fine. And he's like, okay. So she shifts. And then when she finishes, Anna shifts. And then Charles takes a second and a half to shift. So he's fine. And then they do the hunting song. I like anything involving the hunting song. I like the concept.
Mm-hmm, but the hunting song is playing We Will Rock You.
Yeah, Anna's doing like the beat to We Will Rock You through the hunting song.
And Charles and Tag are like...
Oh, but that she starts doing that midway through the fight because Charles gets bamboozled and he's 12 talking to Grandpa, but there's a tentacle thing coming at him. It's like, what the fuck?
Charles is
Anna just starts...
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like,
and it's fine.
Is that We Will Rock You? Like,
yeah, but then it's fine. What are we gonna call this guy? The singer or Cthulhu?
Cthulhu.
Because so Cthulhu is taking a while to show up, and they're just like, where is he? Like, I like to imagine them staying there for like 3 hours just waiting, like just not moving. Because like they're all wolves and they're staring at this puddle. Okay, it's a big deep thing. Puddle. But in my head, it's a puddle, and they're waiting for a squid to come out, and he's not showing. And they're like, "What?" And we set the time, we set the date. Where the fuck are you? And he's just not showing.
And I also like to imagine that they're all getting very sick of We Will Rock You, and they're like, and they're all just like, "Can we sing a different song, please, for the love of God?"
Yeah,
for the love.
But then Tentacle comes. Yeah, but then Tentacle comes up and goes, and they're like,
it is the width of a Volkswagen Beetle, and as somebody who drives one, I know exactly how wide it is, and holy fuck, that's really big.
Yeah, and it's like 25 foot long or something like that.
Yeah,
like it's obviously bigger than a puddle. What he's in, okay, it's bigger than a puddle. It's huge.
Larg.
So in my head, it's a puddle.
So we do a fighty fight. Tag winds up hella angered.
So does Leia. She almost loses a leg.
Yeah.
She's out first, and then Tag.
Basically, they're all in really bad shape. So, so Tag's like, I'm a Viking. Take him out with me. And so Charles is like, okay. So Charles like, yeah, and Leah's like, that's not.
I don't know what it does. It has something to do. Yeah, it had something to do with mixing Tag's blood in with Cthulhu's blood. I don't. Yeah, but then just when it seems that all is lost, Daddy comes and
Bran shows up.
He's there. He's in his helicopter and he jumps out of the helicopter, sword in hand, and he's like, "Freedom!" And he jumps, and then he chucks the sword to Charles. and goes to tend to Leah, which is like also again cute. Like we're starting to like see that, you know, stuff. And lightning like Thor comes and goes, and Charles is like, I have the power, and does a stab, and it like, you know, it happens. And Cthulhu becomes a little baby squid and swims away.
Yeah.
I don't know if we know that, but that's what happens.
Yeah, he becomes a baby squid and is like, oh, and
like really small.
Yeah.
And they're like, we won, and Tag's gonna be fine. Like they honestly thought Tag was about to die. But like Bran's healing Tag, chilling with Leah. She's like starting to feel a bit better, like she can shift, and they're like, and so then they go back to the hotel.
Yeah. And then we cut to
Coyote. Oh wait, no, first they go back and they kill, because they wanted to confirm if the mummies are living or dead, because Anna could swear she saw them breathing. They were still alive but bespelled.
Well, also Leah kills Xander. Also.
Yeah, she probably kills. That's right. Anna did a thing to him the first time, but then Leah actually kills him, because that's what made Cthulhu take so long. He was healing Xander, so he could keep knocking people up. Then they go and kill all the mummies because they can't be fixed. And then when they're on the way back to the car, it's just Anna and Charles at this point. But then Prager's witch comes from before, and she's like, how dare you? He was mine and you killed him, and how dare you?
I was listening to this out loud.
He was mine.
And yeah, so Noah was listening to me. She
had a normal voice earlier.
But yeah, so she's like yelling at them, but how Walter Graham reads it is like, how could you know that it was mine? And then Anna pulls a Karen and is like, well, this is private property. And she's like, we were here first. We made a bargain. And Anna's like, well, it's private property. It's not like you can't be here. We have like the rights to this land. And then a Sasquatch shows up, and the Sasquatch is like, I would prefer if you like didn't do this. Also, thank you for dealing with that, dealing with Cthulhu. That was really annoying. But can you leave, please? You're a witch, and like, ew, gross, get out. And then like another.
They're leaving more like shaking the fist, like you haven't heard the last of me type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
because Charles is like, look, I could kill them. That's going to start a war, and we're tired.
Yeah, but they do walk away, go like, I'll get you and your little dog too, and then they leave. But then we cut to Coyote, and Coyote.
To the back of the hotel, like, Charles goes outside, and Coyote's there.
Well, no, before that, we cut to Coyote.
Oh no, that's right. And
Coyote's in the cave.
That's right. Charles sees him.
Yeah,
Charles sees the Coyote.
He doesn't. I don't think he sees him do this though, because
no, he just sees him watching that interaction.
But we then cut to Coyote, and we see Coyote look at like the baby squid, and then Coyote goes. Coyote goes, it's always so annoying to kill immortal creatures, and then he eats him.
And he tastes like eel.
I
don't know don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Depends on his personal taste, I guess. I would be upset.
So then,
not that big a fan of eel.
So then, they go back to the hotel, and then Charles goes outside.
Coyote.
And then Coyote's there. And this is when I actually slowed it down to listen to this, because I was so excited. I was like, yes. And then Charles was
I was not happy with his voice.
I wasn't either. But Charles was
like,
no
mischief.
No, there wasn't. And then Charles was like, how dare you not show up? And Coyote's like, I showed up exactly when I wanted to. You think I want to be near fucking Cthulhu? Thank you for taking care of that, BT dubs. He's like, why would I help you with Cthulhu? That's like dangerous, bro. So like, I already helped with one like water monster. Like, no.
I'm like, I'm good. He's like, but just so you know, they're like,
he's dead.
Like,
you're welcome.
He's legit dead. Yeah,
like dead.
Yeah, and Charles is like, how? So now we can go get into the etymology thing. So I don't think he actually was a Manitou, because a Manitou can't be killed.
Yeah.
Unless you destroy the thing that they're Manitou of. But what he actually was, from the sound of it, was he's like Coyote and the others, except he hasn't become one of them yet. He's like pre them.
Which I think means he doesn't have anything to be tied to.
I think so.
So, like, Coyote is tied to coyotes. So I guess to get rid of Coyote, you would have to get rid of all of the coyotes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're fully meant to like be able to like fully analyze it. Just like he was like us, but not quite, because he hadn't become one of us yet. But he was on his way to becoming one.
Yeah.
And they're like, so what about his betters? And he's like, oh no, like that. They all died. Like, if I die, Mercy will be fine, because I have become. Like, if I legit die for good, like, Mercy's fine. I have become. But he has not become. So now that he is dead, his offspring will die. Like, your friend, the doctor lady, she lost her baby a bit ago. That witch, like, all the witches that have knocked up to him, like, they're all, like, all the babies are. But he confirms that Mercy is... The term walker is actually, like, their job is to walk in the world and do the bidding of their thing.
Not the coyotes' kids are very good at it, but
he's like my kids are awful. They don't listen, but that actually makes them the best ones, because they're the ones that are getting shit done. So like, I don't know. I like my shit. Is Coyote's opinion.
Yeah, but
then Coyote then goes to, I'm assuming he went to the garden of the nursing home. And he's like, he hadn't lied to Anna and Charles, but he concealed one thing from them. All of the singer's children had not died. This one last child had survived. And then he said to the listening garden, "Hi, I'm Coyote. I think we should talk." Because all the magic from the garden was coming, and the nursing home, and everything was coming from Cthulhu. Yeah. I don't. That's all we get. There is a lot of stuff left hanging at the end of this book.
Yeah. And then Sherwood Post sits up in bed and remembers his name. And my note about that is, I swear to God, if his name is some bullshit like Bob Smith, I'm going to riot.
What are you going to do if he's Little John? Or Robin Hood? Like, remember, like...
Robin Hood, I feel like is so obvious. But yeah. I'm fine if it's Robin Hood.
I'm curious.
But like,
I'm curious. I'm hoping that... In some ways, I kind of hope he's not someone that exists, like that, like is a thing.
Yeah, because
well, maybe we'll find out. Well, we better find out. Like, if Mercy's not telling us who the fuck he is next year, I'm gonna be cross.
Well, because he's being built up as like.
He's becoming an increasingly important character.
Yeah. And this is the 6th book we've had him in where we're like, who the fuck is Sherwood?
Yes.
And there's a lot of characters who know who the fuck he is.
Bran knows his name. And he's forbidden anyone from telling him who he is. But I guess Bran's no longer cranky at him, because it's not actually his fault that he doesn't remember. Because they work out that the reason why he couldn't remember is because he went back to try and finish killing the thing, and that's how the witches got him.
Well, because he lost all his memories and he was really weak, and then that's how the witches got him.
Yeah.
So none of that was actually his fault.
Not actually his fault.
Like, because the mystery of that was like, how did someone like Sherwood get bamboozled by witches? Like, that's really weird. Nobody, like Sherwood of all people, should never have been able to be overtaken by even an entire coven of witches. There's no way. Not Sherwood.
Yeah, so all the babies of the thing died, plus also I guess everyone got their memories back.
Yeah, because its power was gone. But then the epilogue. So Sam rocks up, Sam has a baby, and Sam's like,
before that, Leah and Bran, right. Like Leah's can remember everything. But I think she feels like the most like herself than that she ever has, or whatever. I think that was the thing. And like in her head, she's like, I love Bran. And he's like, I don't want to lose you. And she's like, why the fuck don't you want to lose me? He's like, I'm so sorry. And then he like opens their mating bond, which he's never done before. And that starts. And we don't know what happens.
Yeah.
And then,
And then we get to the epilogue. Sam shows up and Sam's like, here, I have a baby. Told you I had a solution. Take it. It's your own. Don't tell anybody. Dad knows, but you can't tell anybody. She's a maker like Ariana, and a Fae knows. We're going to go kill it. But nobody can know because she could make really powerful artifacts, and that would change everything for the Fae, and the Fae can't know she exists. So you have to pretend like it's yours, and they can't know anything.
And I was never here. And at some point, Uncle Sam will come and visit.
And I was like, rip, Sam has a new dead baby.
Because also Sam's rocked up. He's like got a like fucked up scarred face, and Charles is like, I knew you were doing more than Doctors Without Borders. Werewolves don't scar that easily.
Yeah.
He's like,
but can confirm Fae and werewolves can reproduce.
Yeah. I mean, we were waiting for this to happen. Like, not how this panned out, but we were waiting for Sam to knock her up because he wanted babies, and then he got a missus.
But we haven't really spoken to Sam for like,
because Ariana's been pregnant in Africa, hiding. Now we know why they just up and disappeared to Africa, because she was at the Dove.
Yeah. So, because we haven't heard from Sam since like Rivermarked and Mercy's wedding,
something like that. Yeah.
And Sam, been a while. Like, oh, Sam's just in Africa.
Yeah.
And Bran was like briefly in Africa in Silence Fallen, but Sam was like, or Bran was I think Bran goes to Africa like once.
No, I think that was the plan. He was going to go to Africa. That was his cover. He was gonna go to Africa, but he told Charles he was in Africa. But then it was
and Burn Bright, but he wasn't. He was in.
But he was actually in like Spokane.
Yeah. So.
But everyone thought he was in Africa.
Yeah. So that's. Yeah. But that's where Sam has been, and I don't actually know if it's only been. Hold on, has it only been 9 months since Sam went to Africa?
It'll be in the timeline on her website.
I'm gonna go back. So
Rivermark. They might have been.
Rivermark is in
Africa.
Rivermark is in the summer of year 2, and then by the time we're in Frostburned, he's definitely in Africa, and that's in November of year 2.
Yeah,
and then in like late. So she's just been pregnant in Africa. Oh no, in Frostburned, they're still. They're still
there in Frostburned.
But by by like Dead Heat or or Night Broken, which marked.
Yeah. So that's why they went to Africa.
Yeah, which like
that worked out perfectly.
December, January-ish to September, because she's newborn. So January to September, 9 months. Yeah, she's been pregnant in Africa. Interesting. Okay. Now we knew.
Yep. I mean, also just on the note of like what you were saying before as well about the different tone in Mercy books and everything. Like, I think one of the biggest things as well, and I think half of that is also just with how what's the word I'm thinking? I'm sorry, I'm having a mental blank. With how it all changes, with how it was all like happy-go-lucky and everything. That's what I was thinking of, sorry. Was like at the beginning, right? She was like, I've been keeping my nose out of mischief for a decade. And then like something random happens. And like the first few books, she's like, I'm a good girl. I'm a good girl. I keep my nose clean. I don't want this. But like, and then there comes a point where she's just like, look, my life's a mess. And I'm in a werewolf pack. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
We're getting into new shit every week. Whereas like at the beginning, she was just like, nothing has happened to me in a decade and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest shifts when she's just like, look, my life's a mess.
But anyway, so that's that. And we're not really, I don't know. Well, I know we are doing Morganville next. I'm not sure what we're doing with Addie next, but
yeah, we'll have to work that out.
But that's this. And we'll be returning to Mercy like next year. So
did we put this in? Did we write this anywhere? We didn't place this in.
Oh, I would say like
say it out loud.
I would say below Cry Wolf, above Burn Bright for me.
Okay. I'm mixed because there's a lot about this book that I actually enjoyed, but the music stuff got to me. The music and all the rapey stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for me that's about where it goes. Because also I'm like, can I see myself rereading this book a whole bunch? Like not really.
Out of necessity, probably.
Yeah, out of necessity, yes, but otherwise not really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll put it there.
Yeah.
Better than Burn Bright. Because we went places and we did stuff and there was Bigfoot and Cthulhu.
Yeah, so it's better than Burn Bright. Or, above Cry Wolf. Above Cry Wolf.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So
Cry Wolf is a bit boring, isn't it? This had stuff. Yeah. This
had more stuff. But anyway, we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.